Noah Dobson has been traded to the Canadiens for the 16th and 17th picks and for Emil Heineman. Huge blockbuster deal. As everybody has already talked about, it seems likely that the Islanders are going to try to package the 16th and 17th picks to move up for Hagens. And there's a number of teams that could be with. Utah is one that's been talked about. Boston is another that's been talked about. I don't think those are necessarily the only two that are possibilities. And look, if they walk away from Friday night with James Hagens and Matthew Schaefer, the fan base would be absolutely thrilled. That's the best player in the draft in Schaefer, according to a consensus of experts, plus a potential star who is from Long Island and grew up an Islander fan and would be obviously an incredible story. Moving Dobson also frees up significant money in free agency for them, which is not something they really had before. Of course, they'll need to use at least part of that to replace Noah Dobson. It also puts the roster kind of in flux. The right side of their defense right now looks pretty thin. Ryan Pulock and Scott Mayfield, both coming off, not the greatest of years. Maybe there's a window to bring back Tony DeAngelo now. They certainly need kind of another offense first puck moving D, and DeAngelo would be pretty cheap in that role. But to kind of, I guess, temper some of the excitement over this, it is a little hard to square this with Matthew Darche saying that he wants to keep the Islanders as competitive as possible next year. If they end up getting Hagens, they'll come away from the night with two great prospects and set up well for the future. But regardless of whether they get Hagens or not, the roster looks a lot less competitive right now than it did 24 hours ago for next season. We don't know whether Schaefer is going to be in the NHL next year. I suspect he will be. Same thing with Hagens if they end up getting him. But look, even if both of those guys are in the league and with the Islanders next year, those are two rookies, two young kids who are, however good they're going to be in the future, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to be 18-year-old rookies who need to put on more muscle and get more experience and all of that. So my next question immediately is, is this a pivot towards a more of a full rebuild? And if so, are there other moves coming down the pipeline? And if not, then how can the Islanders, pivot this and sort of work along two tracks of keeping their roster competitive for next season and contending for a playoff spot while also protecting, their young talent that, suddenly looks like a real strength of this organization. So we'll see how that all plays out.